Is it really a word called crux? C-R-U-X? And what does crux really mean? Am I using it right? You have a beard, you look smart. Oh, yeah, it's good. The crux, or the essence of the thing, of the show tonight, is the workshop that I did, where I forced some students to make new sketches today. And they're going to show you those sketches today. No matter how good or bad they are, they're showing them to you. That's the crux. I'm just going to say crux a lot. Crux. But first, I will start things off by telling you an old Kids in the Hall story. I've never met the Kids in the Hall, but I hear they're very nice. This story takes place in, I believe, October of 1985. It's an old story. We were actually kids when we thought of the name. That proves it. And in August of 1985, we were discovered by a wonderful, wonderful lady named Lauren Michaels. Wonderful one. She didn't know what to do with us at first, so she hired the two oldest ones, Mark McKinney and Bruce McCullough. Bruce is right here. He's so smart. That's so mean because he just texted me and said, "Good luck." I'm so sorry. True story. Lauren hired them to write for Saturday Night Live, so they moved to New York. We, of course, are a Toronto troupe, so the rest of us remained in Toronto. Dave Foley, from the heat of us being hired from Saturday Night Live, got hired. He was the cute kid in the hall, apparently. So he was hired to do a lead in a comedy action movie, a Canadian movie called High Stakes. I remember the producer told him that they were going to make him the Canadian Michael J. Fox. The joke being, so the only two people that were left in Toronto were the two losers in the hall, Scott Thompson and myself, trying to find work. Now, the Kids in the Hall, before we were discovered by Lauren Michaels, what did I do this for? Yeah, I want to do quote signs, but I did this instead. Canadian quote signs. Before we were discovered by Lauren Michaels, we had agreed to do a benefit show for a frat house in the University of Toronto, which we call the U of T, and I'll call the U of T from now on for the rest of the story. The benefit was going to take place at the Mocambo. You're all too young. Does anyone remember the Mocambo?
Oh, yes.
What's the most famous thing about the Mocambo?
Elvis Costello played there?
Yeah, well, that's the second most famous thing. That's that Elvis Costello had a famous bootleg album. Good for you. Yes. But the most famous thing is that the Rolling Stones were going to do a sneak show there. And on their way there, Keith Richards was arrested for heroin. Doing heroin. Not just heroin. Not for the word heroin. For doing heroin. And when the Kids in the Hall, we thought, oh, one day I hope we're famous enough that we get arrested for doing heroin. That was years before that. So we were doing a benefit for the Mocambo, but only the two losers in the hall, Scott Thompson and I, were there. So we had to do a show. Now, if you're a hardcore Kids in the Hall fan, you, of course, know that Scott Thompson and I have the least amount of chemistry. Yes. Yes. We did like 47 scenes we shot for the show, and only 2 made it. There's 47 pieces of shit on the editing room floor. We still have the editing room floor. They let us keep that. So Scott and I were doing that. We had one scene that worked. And so we had one scene that did kind of work in our stage shows. This was way before we had a TV show, but we had a stage show. We had one scene that worked. So we go there and we figure, look, we're playing for college kids. College kids love us. Anyway, we get to the Mocambo and there's a lot of drunk frat boys. Like 300 or 400 drunk frat boys. We're a little nervous, except there's the gay choir from the U of T is playing, and they're killing. So that makes us feel better. Out of Scott and us, one of us is gay. We're not sure which one. And the sketch we're doing is partly gay, so we feel better that the gay choir, or partly gay themed, I should say, the gay choir, not only do they do well, but they get a standing ovation. So we figure we're going to be great. College kids love us. So anyway, we get introduced, we start our sketch. Now our sketch, which is done very well many, many times at our stage show, it's based on the conceit that my girlfriend had just split up with me, which is not true. I didn't have one. And I pretend to see her in the audience, and I always pick a woman who's with a man That's part of the joke. And and the conceit of the stage that we're pretending talking, Scott and I, that he's trying to cheer me up, that I just went with my girlfriend. I pretend to see her, Carolyn, I can't believe you're here. And then I get off the stage. I take the microphone with me. I go to her and I talk. What are you doing? And you brought your new boyfriend. How dare you come? And the joke, what usually happens when it works, is that I pretend to bring her backstage so we can talk it over. It's usually Kids in the Hall fans that come to the show, so they always come backstage. And then the guy there's left alone, and Scott says, "Come up on stage. We'll kill time." And the joke is that Scott sort of hits on him, and we tape a conversation. Dave Foley taped a conversation, and the guy pretends that he's talking, but it's really Dave's voice, and he says horribly sexual stuff, and then they pretend to fall in love. And that's sort of the joke. It really worked in 1984, I swear. However, in 1985, I go up the stage and I go to this woman who, my instincts are off that night, and I pick a very, very drunk woman who takes an instant hate to me. She seems to be obsessed with my, I have wild curly hair back then, and she says, and I pretend that, "Oh, Carolyn, what are you doing here?" I said, "I'm not Carolyn, you fucking hair asshole." Hair asshole. She calls me that several more times for the rest of the night. Hair asshole, get out of my face, hair asshole. And then she takes the microphone from me, and I guess in a way to try to make my hair less curly, she starts hitting me in the head. Over and over, and you hear a loud thump all the time. Things aren't going well. I see Scott doing a flop sweat. Just covered in sweat. We're doing so badly that the U of T, I'm about to say something politically incorrect, but it's a true story. It happened in 1985. The U of T kids start chanting to Scott and I, "Fags, fags." Now remember, they just gave a standing ovation to a gay choir. We haven't gotten to the gay part of the sketch. I'm hitting on a woman. They're yelling, "Fags." I see 4 members of the gay choir. They're yelling, "Fags." It's not going well. It seems like the act is over because we're quietly bombing. So the next act, a punk band called Gut Rot, come out and they start checking. They're doing a sound check. Scott gets really mad. He picks the bass player, probably because the bass player is the cutest one, and he starts yelling at the bass player. The bass player is yelling, so they're yelling at each other on stage. I'm with the woman. She's hitting me with the mic. Suddenly, her drunk boyfriend, who's more drunk than her, wakes up and says, "I knew you like guys with curly hair. I can't believe you dragged me to the show with your boyfriend, hair asshole." They start fighting. I look at the stage. Scott and the bass player are now pushing each other kind of violently. I am a very big coward in 1985, so I go, "Thank you, good night," and I go to the bar. And I order a comfort margarita. Now, Scott, the bass player now has Scott in a headlock. This is a true story, I swear to God. So the host of the show comes out trying to save it and go, "Oh, thank you, now we have a contest. And the winner of this contest wins the new Smash album, Billy Crystal's You Look Marvelous." This was 1985. That was a very special contest. Very special thing to win back in 1985. Everybody got very excited. And so the host said, "All you have to do is answer this question. It's a rock and roll question," because he was a DJ of a famous rock and roll station in Toronto. So he said, "Which song did the Beatles and the Rolling Stones both record?" Now, I'm a music nerd. My answer, music nerds, they gave me a lot of Beatles and Rolling Stone albums. So I put my drunk margarita down, and without thinking, I yell, "I want to be your man!" And the guy goes, "Yes, you're a winner! Come on out!" So I walk past Scott and the bass player who are spitting on each other. True story. I get my Billy Crystal album. I go to the mic and I go to the audience, "You look marvelous," getting my first laugh for the night. They applaud. Now they love me. They forget I was the guy that was just bombing. They forget that I'm a hair asshole. So I pass Scott and the bass player who are now rolling around the stage wrestling in some kind of weird sexual violent thing. I don't understand. And I go to the I go to the bar. I have my margarita. I look at the show and I go, "Yes, you do look marvelous." And that's the end of my story. It's all a true story, I swear to God.